We started at Lighthouse as a hackathon project. Like my journey was started in around 2020 in the Filecoin ecosystem. Like I was, like took part in some hackathons that I won, and then took part in one of the portfolio companies in the Filecoin ecosystem, and later on, after that, was contributing to a bunch of open source projects before I started a Lighthouse in late 2021. And when we started, personally, I was looking into what RV guys they were doing, what Falcon was doing. Was always fascinated about this concept of permanent storage that folks can pay once, store files forever. But at that time, when I saw the cost for RV, it was like $60 a GB. I'm like, okay, am I gonna pay for that much amount? Probably not. So maybe can we do something with Filecoin? And parallelly, I do saw like a lot of marketplaces adopting IPFS and Filecoin together to store their NFT data. And that's with the simple idea we started Lighthouse, that we want to build permanent storage natively on Filecoin, and with the right user experience that the current solutions were missing back then. But since then, like we have transitioned Lighthouse to not just permanent storage, but towards like building a whole data layer, powering AI, DeepIn, and NFTs. The focus for me and our team right now is whatever developers and startups need on the data layer, be it decentralized storage, encryption, and some other crazy technologies, we should be able to offer it through our SDKs. And yeah, overall, the key problem that we started off was like high cost, like direct and indirect cost of storing data NFT, especially like long term, including like chain history as well. The second thing was lack of security. Like none of the existing solutions like IPFS, Filecoin, and then even RV at that time, they had encryption technology, and that's like eliminating half of the use cases. Like most people, they are also storing private data, and if you don't offer that, it's like, okay, not everyone wants to store public data. And then third thing was fragmentation. Like with developers already, we talked about how, I think Hannah mentioned, like the product folks are like, how are these developers building things and crazy new tech coming up. So there was a lot of complex nodes and infrastructure. We ourselves as a team, we faced some initial overhead to build on Filecoin. So we're like, okay, this is a problem that a lot of other teams would also resonate with. So let's like solve this fragmentation problem, that you don't have to go to one provider for IPFS, another for Filecoin, the third one for encryption, and the fourth one for some crazy retrievals and whatnot. Yeah, so the simple solution we came up with, okay, like we need to provide permanent storage that folks can pay once, store files long-term / forever. And I can talk more about how does that work. And then there, the payments are managed by an on-chain endowment pool that we deploy on Filecoin virtual machine. Second is our access control. There, the focus is that you can store private data, build token-gated applications. I guess the key innovation there is around key management, where the folks need not store keys on the client's end, because that would cause problem when they want to share files access and revoke access. But then secondly, they don't want to store it at a single location, the keys of the files. So then with us, we have this technology around threshold cryptography that splits the keys, make sure that next time you just authenticate, our Lighthouse nodes would independently verify that you have access to the file, and then you can decrypt the file. And the key generation and aggregation happens on the client's end. And third thing is the unification that I talked about to solve the fragmentation problem. And yeah, these are briefly the 4 products that right now we have live right now. One is what we call as data DAOs, an idea being talked in the Filecoin ecosystem from long time, which hardly anybody is able to crack. So I think we are building that, where right now we have 2 data DAOs live. One is the main Lighthouse data DAO, where you can imagine data DAO as like an on-chain set of smart contracts which holds fun with governance, and underlying the data is being stored. And right now, one is the Lighthouse data DAO with all the users' data going to this data DAO, and another data DAO is live for the NFT storage team, where they have their own NFT storage pool with all the NFT storage data being stored underneath, specifically targeting NFTs. And then they have their own governance. Like right now, maybe when they transition to a DAO, they will have their own maybe NFT storage token to manage governance and monetize in whatever way possible. And as Mark also mentioned from Aether, so there's a whole concept of synthetic data generation and AI being hungry for data. So I think long term we are also planning on, okay, we have this data, some of that is public, some of them is access control logged. So can folks monetize that data in some way? For example, there are deepened networks right now like Rivals, where folks can put in data and monetize it. So obviously we have data which is already stored. If we can just label it, then likely we can also monetize it in various ways. So this is something that we see that these data DAOs with like superpowers of governance and DAO over Filecoin, they can enable new economies of generating value, not just for the raw data being stored, but whatever the actual data represents, and maybe compute over in the future and reward all the DAO holders. And the second is our web application. It's a very easy to use, like folks can log in using email, Google, GitHub. And we also want to support more chains. So like we support obviously most of the EVM chains, Phantom wallet, which is like the Solana native wallet, and Cosmos, and few more coming up this month itself. And the focus here is that if you are a Web2 user, like one of my friends was telling me the other day that I am storing my seed phrase on your web application. I'm like, okay, cool. I wouldn't recommend that, but it's great that you're trusting me with your $10,000 wallet seed phrase and stored that on our web app. And he's not a Web3 user, he's a Web2 user. But this acts as a very good web application where folks can also pay using crypto, right now using stable coins. And if they want to pay using Filecoins, they can choose our SDK, and they can also pay using Stripe as well. So here we have an annual plan and a lifetime plan. Lifetime plan is what we started off with, but we realized that even that price, which is let's say 25% of what RV was charging, can be expensive for an application like AI. So we see like almost half of our users choosing the annual plan and the remaining half choosing the lifetime plan. So there's some good usage there happening. And the fact that we provide native experience through different chain wallets helps a lot of users. And the third product is our SDK and CLI, which a lot of folks in hackathons, I think Nicola also posted, although we didn't sponsor directly ETH London, but he posted that around maybe 50 to 60 projects end up using Lighthouse SDKs to build on Filecoin during ETH London and various other hackathons recently in Singapore and other places. So there's like thousands of projects who have already integrated Lighthouse SDK to do that. And then again, this unified SDK provide you a way to upload data to IPFS, Filecoin, upload encrypted data, retrieve your files, and do a bunch of other cool stuff. And CLI, obviously, it's like great tool for folks who just want data that's ready on their system to upload as well. And then the fourth, as I already mentioned, is our encryption SDK and token gating. This is something I'm personally passionate about as well. So what it does is, let's say if I own one Pudgy Penguin on Ethereum, or if I own 1,000 Uniswaps tokens on Ethereum, or maybe 100 Filecoins on FVM chain, I can token gate any content that's being stored. So I can create a condition where only if you can prove me that you own one Pudgy in your wallet, then only you can access a file. So these kind of on-chain conditions can be tied up to the data being stored underneath. And some of the users that we are talking to right now, and many who are using Lighthouse, like there's this one client out of US who is storing legal documents on us and offering it to lawyers and further on to their clients, like a B2B2C product. They are using Lighthouse heavily for not just storing legal documents, but also encrypting it as well. But overall, I think in terms of Web3 use cases, this shines a lot. A lot of NFT marketplaces that we talk to get excited about this token gating feature. And this independently works outside storage as well. I got to know that somebody is using our encryption SDK to create like some wallet where they are splitting the keys using our SDK. So that's interesting. That's happening. So yeah, overall, these are the four products, like a data DAOs, like Lighthouse Data DAO, NFT Storage Data DAO that is live, our web application, easy to use interface, then our SDK and CLI, and then our encryption SDK. And yeah, here are some of the projects that we have been fortunate enough to work recently. Like AI, like there's this project called as Eternal AI, who are storing llama models on us, like hundreds of GBs of data. So quite interesting use case. So Singularity also, they created like it's the number one crypto AI project right now. So they created like a new SDK to offer to their clients, and underneath they are using Lighthouse very heavily, and they are using our Filecoin first service. So you must have heard yesterday that a lot of people are talking that we need to move more paid deals on chain. So this new thing that we built around Filecoin first brings payment on chain, and Singularity Net is using that to offer to their clients, and similar with other some of these AI projects. Then DA is another use case that some folks talked in past sessions. So we have these two Bitcoin L2 networks, Syscoin and BVM network, who are storing entire chain data on Filecoin using Lighthouse, and more coming up as well. With NFTs, we are working with the NFT storage team, File Market, and some other folks. With social gaming as well. Like Link is one of the top projects out of India now. They have top partnerships with Aptos and now launching their own movement chain as well. So they are pretty heavy power user of Lighthouse in the gaming space. And in the infrastructure, like WebHash is a project I would like to highlight. Top project out of ENS ecosystem. Over 6,000 websites that they have deployed using Lighthouse. So that's great. And like StackOS and Aether are some other deep in networks who are heavily integrated to Lighthouse and offering Filecoin using their current pipeline. And then obviously we have some L1, L2 partnerships with these chains that I mentioned as well, like Esther. Yeah, so that's like a brief. But yeah, previously we were on domain lighthouse.storage. We revamped recently to lhprotocol.com. So I think overall, how we are aligning is LH protocol will be where we also launch our future token, make permissionless system, go towards this path of progressive decentralization. But then the web interface still lives on files.lighthouse.storage. So that's where we have like a Singapore-based entity attached where folks can get SLAs from us, upload data, pay us using like their bank account via Stripe and crypto. But yeah, that's some things to highlight, but happy to answer any specific questions if there's any.
Okay, I have a question. What we talked about, that your 90% of your users are SDK or CLI, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just briefly talk about that acquisition channel. Like, how are those leads coming in, and are you even touching those, or do they just know through your marketing channels? And then what does the customer success path look like when they get stuck?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the top funnel for us is definitely hackathons, because we want more and more developers to build on Lighthouse. And obviously, there was some precedence by some other storage protocols, so we were able to see where are they getting traffic from. So hackathons is one great inbound for us. And then apart from them, I think many times what things are needed in the Filecoin ecosystem, we also keep a track on that and keep building on that. And sometimes build and ship products which we see that won't be able to monetize into the future as well, but it's useful. For example, we had this data depot feature which allows you to prep your files. So now many folks in the Filecoin ecosystem just adapted that, and we don't have any way to monetize it, but it's just like some social capital we build using that offering. So yeah, hackathons is one big for us. Second is native integrations. For example, if now we have native integration with folks like Aether and folks like NFT storage, then anyone who builds on top of them, indirectly they become our users. And third is definitely BD pipeline. Like we have our own BD efforts to reach projects directly as well. But yeah, hackathons is still one good entry point for us. And many people use our self-serving pipeline that they won't even contact us until they are going to buy a plan, and next day they would buy because they have already used the product, they already had a free plan to use and upload files, and now they are looking to upgrade, and then they might we might touch with them.
Perfect. Okay, yeah, right here. We got about 2 minutes.
How much revenue does Lighthouse do?
Yeah, this is a question I can tell you after the session, but
I just think it's a great signal for us to understand product market fit and whether or not there are paying customers. But yeah, we could talk after, but I would love to know.
Yeah,
and,
I think overall,
you could say revenue per customer if you want to talk about more like your ACV.
Yeah, I think right now it would be let's say thousands and tens of thousands of dollars, and we need to grow it to maybe million or 10 million next year or two. Yeah.
Good.
You mentioned that your friend is storing his seed phrase. You have legal documents being stored, so some really like sensitive stuff. What does the attack surface look like on the encryption side? Like where is that threshold cryptography happening, and what are the trust assumptions?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, like we have this open source SDK. We called it as Lighthouse Coverage, and what it does is we have this process of distributed key generation. So every file gets a unique encryption key, and then we split that key into 5 nodes. Right now, these 5 nodes are run by our team, so most of our users know that, and we plan to decentralize it. And obviously, those 5 keys, so every encryption key of a file is sharded into 5 different keys, and we have a 3 or 5 threshold. So when 3 nodes say that yes, you have access to the file, then you get access to the file. So obviously we have right now SLAs that we offer, which is enough legal guarantees, but we want to decentralize it into the future, maybe to at least 10 to 15 nodes where enough nodes are run by folks outside Lighthouse team as well. But yeah, that's just to highlight.